Here's how to make a Christmassy mushroom soup from scratch. First, you need to make the vegetable broth. So for that, you need half a carrot, a fourth of a small onion, but I've done a bit more, 1/2 of a celery stalk, 1 garlic clove, and a bay leaf if you've got one. That's just optional. You can have a handful of fresh herbs, so just parsley or thyme if desired, but I haven't got them. And lastly, a cup of water. So personally, I'm going to make my own vegetable broth because the normal vegetable broths you get like in a packet have usually got many additives, and I only eat like from raw. So you can follow this if you want. If you don't, then just get your own vegetable broth and put it in 1/2 cup of water. I'm going to be putting the recipe on the screen. So you need to have all of this chopped up. So that's what I am now going to do. Now that's all chopped up, and for the garlic as it's smashed, I just crushed it on the back of a spoon. You then just put all of this into the pan. Bring to boil over a medium heat, then reduce to a simmer. Then let it simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. While the vegetable broth is simmering for the 10 to 15 minutes, I cut up the cup of mushrooms just into slices, and then I chopped up the 1/4 of an onion, and also finally minced the garlic clove. And a pro tip: if you put a wet paper towel when you're cutting your onions, it stops you from getting runny eyes, but it doesn't always work. So for the next part, you need some coconut oil. I personally use coconut oil because it's a good oil. The rest are not so great for you. And then also 1/2 a cup of coconut milk. Again, because it's all vegan, I'm not using actual milk. And coconut milk's one of the 3 milks that are pretty good for you. And then as I said earlier, the mushrooms, the garlic and the onion. And then you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, and 1/4 teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt. So I use that instead of just normal table salt because this has a load of minerals in it, whereas normal table salt is just sodium chloride, not all the other 72 minerals. And the last ingredient will be the 1/2 a cup of vegetable broth once that is done. Very quick and easy recipe. Once the vegetable broth has simmered for 15 minutes, you then turn the heat off and then strain it through a fine mesh strainer into some sort of jug. Now that you've got the vegetable broth ready, you can move on to the actual soup recipe. So put some coconut oil in a pan, about a teaspoon, and then add the onion and garlic until it's softened and fragrant. And then once that's had 2 to 3 minutes, you need to add the mushrooms and cook them for 5 to 6 minutes, stirring occasionally until they release their moisture and start to brown. Once the mushrooms have had 5 to 6 minutes, you need to stir in the 1/4 a teaspoon of rosemary, salt and thyme, and cook for an additional 1 to 2 minutes to release the aroma of the herbs. Make sure you stir this often, otherwise it'll stick to the bottom and burn very quickly. Once the herbs have released their aroma, you need to pour in 1/2 the cup of coconut milk and 1/2 the cup of vegetable broth, or just water if that's what you used. You now need to let it simmer for 5 to 7 minutes until the mushrooms are tender and flavours meld. Once you've let it simmer for 5 to 7 minutes and the mushrooms are tender, you need to use an immersion blender directly in the pot for a smooth soup, or transfer to a regular blender after cooling slightly. Blend until smooth. Because I don't have a handheld immersion blender, I've let mine cool, and now I'm going to put it into just a normal blender until it's smooth. If you used a blender like I did, you might need to add a bit of water to make it a bit less thick, and then put it back in the pan and heat it up a bit if you want it a bit warmer. Taste and adjust seasoning if needed. Serve hot, garnish with extra thyme leaves or a drizzle of olive oil. And you could make your own garlic pita bread as well, that I will show you how to make. Now enjoy your poop. I mean soup. You can't have a soup without garlic bread, so click this video on screen now to see how to make a quick and easy, healthy garlic flatbread.